Last week I got back from New Media Expo in Las Vegas, and while there was a lot of stuff talked about, I personally came back with one big aha moment, which is going to lead to a big action item that I want to talk to you about in this video. That action item is podcasting. Now, the thing about podcasting, it's certainly nothing new. That being said, my biggest thing from New Media Expo was the sheer number of podcasters that were there. Not only were there the people there that I know were podcasting already, but there were tons of other podcasters out there in markets that I don't follow whatsoever. But the point is, they were doing these podcasts. But even more interesting to me was that even in the business that I'm in, there are people who I know recently did not have a podcast, and now they have a podcast. Yeah, I think Lewis Howes has a podcast now, and I'm like, oh, that's new. I didn't know he had a podcast. Amy Porterfield is now podcasting, and I think she's probably been podcasting for about a year, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that she was doing that. I see that Pat Flynn is actually getting ready to launch a second podcast that's going to be daily. Which is, I think, going to be pretty huge for him. But just going along the trends, I'm seeing that there's like a big upswing in podcasting. I was also in the session with John Lee Dumas, who's from Entrepreneur on Fire, and he's been kicking ass, really. But one of the things that he shared with us was that he was actually invited to Apple and actually got to sit down with the people who were actually doing iTunes for Apple. And apparently Apple's got some really cool things planned later on in 2014, including some analytics, like think Facebook Insights, but inside of iTunes, so you can learn all about your audience right there inside of iTunes. Some really cool stuff. So basically what it comes down to is that I have decided that I was an idiot for letting my podcast fall to the wayside, and I'm going to be bringing it back. So this week, you're going to see episode number 14 of the blog program. And not only that, I think it's a little ironic because it's 2014. I'm kicking it off with episode 14. Kind of cool. But I'm going to bring this thing back, and we're going to be weekly about it. Now, this time, I mean that I am not going to let it drop. Usually, when I decide to be kind of regular about the content that I produce, I'm good at it. I mean, I've been doing this a really long time, and once I'm really fully committed to a particular form of content, I do it with a passion. So I'm going to be doing that with the blog program. Not the sexiest name in the world for a show now that I think about it, but whatever. It's called the blog program. At least as of now, I'm not going to rebrand it. With this video, there's going to be a big button, and maybe with like a little pop-up deal, and I would invite you to subscribe to the blog program in iTunes. I would love to have your support on that show. I launched it probably about a year ago, and I got into new and noteworthy. Things were kicking ass. I went for a little while, and then because I got all lazy about it, it dropped in the rankings. So now I want to get that bad boy back up again. And in order to do that, I really need people to not only listen to it, but also I would love to have your support in iTunes by giving it a star rating and posting a review. I think I'm also in Stitcher. I think I'm on SoundCloud. No, yeah, wherever podcasts are usually found, you should find me. But I think iTunes, it's like the YouTube for podcasting. Everybody's there. So that's the subject of this particular video blog. Love to see you in iTunes. That particular episode is coming out this week. And I start off by singing a little bit of Britney Spears. Check it out. It's really sexy. See ya. Last week I got back from the